Welcome to another episode of The Highlight Reel. My name is Nick Lynch.
And I'm Ben Heltzer.
And today we will be covering Week 14 of the NFL season, including who we think will make the NFL playoffs, our top 5 power rankings, and our picks for Game of the Week. So to start off, the playoff predictions. So we have the AFC. We think that the Chiefs are going to get the number 1 seed. The Bills will get the number 2 seed. The Steelers will get the 3 seed. The Houston Texans will win the AFC South and get number 4. And then the 3 wild cards are going to be the Ravens, the Chargers, and then the Broncos. So pretty much where it's at now. So, Ben, who's going to be in the NFC?
Yeah, not much change in the AFC, but in the NFC, we agreed upon the Lions and Eagles winning their divisions and getting the 1 and 2 seeds respectively. And then the 3 seed we have as the NFC West champion, which we think will end up being the Los Angeles Rams. Oddly enough, we think they'll get it from Seattle. And then the 4 seed will be the last division champion, which will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With how the Falcons are playing right now, it's not looking great. And then our wild card spots in order is Minnesota at 5, Green Bay at 6, and Washington at 7. So not much fluctuation with how it is right now, but still some changes as far as the division winners go.
Yeah, I mean, in the AFC, it's pretty much where it's at now with the...
yeah, there's no... I mean, you got Miami and Indy, maybe, but no, it's not going to happen. It's going to be how it is right now.
And then the NFC South, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the best chance at winning it. Even though they have, nobody, they lose Chris Godwin for the year. Carolina's already eliminated. The Saints lose Derek Carr for the year, and then with the Falcons, with the way they're playing now, it doesn't look like they can be NFC South champions.
Yeah, but let's get into our top 5. Top 5?
Yep.
Yeah, let's get into our top 5.
So number 5, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers in the power rankings, and then the Buffalo Bills, number 4, the Chiefs, number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles, number 2, and then number 1 for the 3rd straight week is the Detroit Lions. So not much change
to
from
say
last
about
week.
That. The same 5 teams as last week,
yeah.
But the order is different, which is nice, mainly because of that Bills loss. But yeah, that's it for the top 5 this week.
I memean, Kansas City, they lost.
Yeah, I hate that they're above us, but I mean they're 13-1, 12-1, whatever they are. We're 10-3. It sucks that they have so many, that they're so good right now.
I mean, the Chiefs. This year's Kansas City Chiefs might be the worst 12-1 team of all time.
Yeah, but we've been saying that the past, however many years. This Chiefs team is the worst we've ever seen them, and they keep just winning it all. So I'm not putting anything past them.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Game of the Week now. So, Ben, what's your pick?
Yeah, my pick is obviously that Bills-Rams game, even though it sucked. Because it feels like every season the Bills are on the losing end of what seems like the game of the year. This game was just back and forth all the way. Bills had to play catch-up, and they did. They almost got it, but poor clock management towards the end ended up giving us a loss there. Josh Allen, in my opinion, cemented his MVP campaign. And, I think I did expect a loss going into it, but, that's it. That's really it.
I mean, with Buffalo, I think Josh Allen is a very strong candidate to win the MVP. But also with the Los Angeles Rams, I would not want to face that offense in the playoffs.
No, that offense is looking scary.
Yeah, I mean,
really scary.
It's just I think the Rams can make it to the NFC Championship game if
they play their cards right. Yeah, definitely.
If they win the division, they get the 3 seed, like we said on our playoff predictions. Yeah. But meanwhile for the Bills, no, I don't think they're gonna catch Kansas City for the 1 seed.
No, at this point probably not. But they could still make a push for the Super Bowl, definitely.
Yeah. So my pick, I'm going to go with the Packers and the Lions, that NFC North Thursday night game. That was a great game all around. The Lions went to halftime up by like 10, and then the Packers came into the third quarter, scored 2 touchdowns in a span of like 3 minutes. And, but the Packers, they tried to beat the Lions in Detroit this year like they did last year, and Detroit just figured them out.
Yeah, division games are always fun. They're always so much fun. It's going to be close, especially between 2 top teams in their conference. I think that with Detroit winning, I don't think they clinched the division just yet because of Minnesota. They still have to play each other. But they clinched a playoff berth. I think they'll end up winning the division. Like, as we said, they'll get the 1 seed. Green Bay will probably sneak into the playoffs as well. And this might not be the last time we see this matchup. And maybe Green Bay can get one back in the playoffs when it matters.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how the Packers are 9-4 and they're only third in their division.
I know.
Like, if they were in the NFC South, they'd be first. But it's just crazy to think that.
Some great games this week, though, overall.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be it for us on the NFL. But up next is Smitty and Jake to talk about college football.
Hello and welcome back to college football on the highlight reel. We got conference championships and the official college football playoff bracket to talk about, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's start it off with a great game in the Mountain West Championship, Boise State versus UNLV. What a great game for Ashton Genty.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much domination from Boise State in this one. They had a 21-0 start. Ashton Genty with a 75-yard touchdown.
Yep. 32 carries, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns for Genty. Another Heisman-worthy performance.
I would say
he keeps doing so good. Like, every game he's had over, I think, like 150 yards and at least a touchdown. So just another great game for him. At this point, who do you think should win the Heisman?
I think it's him. I think he should win the Heisman. I know a lot of people say it's really between him and Travis Hunter. A lot of people say it should be Travis Hunter because, no one's ever done what he's done on both sides of the ball. You could say what you want about schedule, too. Like, he has an easy schedule, but no one's ever been able to do that. He has well over 2,000 yards.
Yeah, and he had,
the stats that he has. Like,
he's had
consistent domination.
He was over 1,000 yards, like 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah, which
is insane.
Consistent domination, and although I think what Travis Hunter is doing, like, it's very unique. We haven't seen anything like it. I don't think snaps is a stat, like the amount of snaps he's getting. That's what a lot of people try to argue.
Yeah.
So I think it should be Genty, but I would also understand if it is Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Sam, I agree.
Yeah, so Boise State heads to the playoff. They earn a first-round bye. They get the 3rd seed, and they're going to play the winner of Penn State and SMU.
Yep. Let's move on and talk about the Big 12 championship. We got Arizona State took on Iowa State and crushed them 45-19. Jake, what are your thoughts on the Big 12 championship?
Yeah, I mean, coming into this, I thought that Arizona State was going to take it. They sort of emerged later in the season as a power in the Big 12.
Yep. They were a late contender.
Basically. Yeah, they showed themselves later. They had 2 losses earlier in the season, but they've been playing great as of late. They got a good running back. Yeah, I think earlier we were talking about we thought it would be like Colorado and BYU in the championship, and then they both dropped a game. BYU dropped a couple games, which is why they got out of it.
At the end of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Arizona State won out after they lost 2 games, and then Iowa State sort of hung around, but I never thought they were that good.
No, and then Cam Scabetto had a huge game, 16 carries, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this dominant win.
Yeah, 45-19.
Just a great game. He's had a great season. His whole season, he's had 263 carries, 1,568 yards, and 19 touchdowns. That's a great year for him.
Yeah, great year for him. He's got a little bit of a high ego, though. I don't know if you saw that press conference with him. He was like, people don't respect that I'm the best running back in college football.
Well,
first of all, you got Genty.
First of all, you have Genty ahead of you, and there's also other players way ahead of you. Like, you've got.
I think he's one of the top backs. Definitely, he's had a great year and proved himself.
You've got over 1,000 yards and almost 20 touchdowns. Yeah, you had a good year, but I don't think he's number 1.
Yeah, I think he's got to tone it down a little, but I think he's definitely one of the best backs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arizona State earns the 4th seed in the playoff, so they get a bye as well. They will play the winner of Texas versus Clemson.
Yeah, let's head over to the SEC championship now. It was a rematch of a game played earlier in the season. And that game, Georgia just looked in complete control. Sort of changed this game. Smitty, what are your thoughts?
It was a lot closer this time, much closer. But so it was a more defensive battle, a whole lot of field goals. It was only 6-3 at the end of the first half, which is a very low score. Carson Beck left the game early, which, like, I thought like it would have been awful for Georgia. I think that would have stopped them because their number 1 QB going out and then their backup coming in. But Gunner, he stuck it in there and he was very good.
Yeah, they were able to stay alive. Not much was going on the offensive side, even when Beck was in, so they weren't losing too much. But, yeah, Gunner Stockton did step up when they needed him. Texas, they finally got a breakthrough in the fourth quarter. Quinn Ewers got a 41-yard touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore, tied it at 13, and then the game entered overtime at 16-16.
Another overtime game for Georgia.
Yeah, 2 in a row. And then, like you said, Gunner Stockton, he had to take over. Fortunately for them, he did lead them to a win. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see in the playoffs how they do.
Yeah, Texas was only able to get a field goal, and Trevor Etienne got the game-winning touchdown to secure Georgia's win for the SEC championship.
Yeah, and then like I said, what do you think, with Georgia's playoff chances, how do you think they could look if, say, Carson Beck is out for the whole playoff?
Yeah.
Do you think that affects them a lot or a little?
I think honestly it depends because they do have Trevor Etienne. They have a good running back.
Solid to say.
But he is your main QB. He's your captain. Like, he's the leader of the pack. Like, I think it will be hard, but I think if he could come back after whoever wins Indiana Notre Dame, he could come back and play against them. But who knows if he's even going to be 100%?
Yeah, fortunately for them, they earn a bye, so they'll have a
Exactly.
little bit more time. But we haven't seen much from Stockton yet. We don't know what he can do. And even with people making fun of like Beck all year, with some games he's had like rough outings. Even with them making fun of him, he's still a very impactful player, which they need. So, we'll see. Maybe it's not going to make that much of an impact, but even if he's out, I feel like they will be either Notre Dame or Indiana.
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
I think they should be fine. It'll just depend when they get to the later rounds.
Yep. And then,
But we got 2 more championship games now. We'll quickly cover those. Let's get to the Big Ten, which was a big offensive game on this hand. Oregon took it 45-37.
Yep. Although Penn State lost, they proved that they can hang in with the big dogs. Like, honestly, like, Oregon's such a good team. They're a powerhouse, and they got things off very quickly. But Drew Aller kept Penn State in it with a pass to Nick Singleton, making it 14-10 at the end of the first half.
Yeah, they had a really
Or
quick
at
start.
the end of the first.
Like 2 touchdowns. And I like how earlier in the season, like everyone was trying to say that Oregon were frauds, that they would lose to Ohio State. I mean, they almost did. It was a 1-point game. But I like how they were saying that they're trash because they kept it close with the FCS team, and now they emerge as one of the top, pretty much the top team. I mean, I think they're the far favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
But, yeah, Drew Aller, I think he was keeping Penn State in the game in this one. He was basically just reeling them in the whole game.
Yeah.
I think he improved his draft stock a lot.
Yeah, I think
Made some good plays.
he definitely will go probably in top 4 round, you think? Or maybe top 5?
4 picks or QBs?
Like in the rounds, I mean. Like,
top 4 rounds? Yeah, for sure.
I think he's definitely up there with the best QBs in the draft.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
I think.
But there's also a bunch of guys who are ahead of him who will go earlier than him.
I think the only guys who are clear ahead of him is Cam Ward and Shador.
Yep.
I think the rest are sort of interchangeable after that. But
I agree.
I think he could either go first round. I think he could.
Yep.
Or he could go second round, third round. I don't know, but I think it'll be one of those early rounds.
Yeah, and then Penn State went down 28-10 before the half, and Aller was able to find guys in the end zone and to do it on his feet as well. So just a great first half for Drew Drew Aller.
Yeah, Oregon just continuing to put pressure. They pushed the pace on offense pretty much all game, and Drew Aller sort of had to keep them in the game. Penn State's defense really continued to struggle. They continue to get challenged in the end zone again and again. And again, Aller and the Nittany Lions, they continue to respond, but they were down a score from earlier in the game, so they were sort of at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But let's wrap it up. What do you think went wrong for Penn State in this one?
I think that Oregon just, like, they're a powerhouse. So I think I think Oregon just had the upper hand, but like especially being down a touchdown from earlier. I think, like how you said, like that really screwed them over. But if they got that touchdown from before, I think it would have been a much better, or like it is a close game, but a much closer game than it ended at.
Yeah, it ended at an 8-point game, so if they did get a touchdown, it would have been better. But I mean, we talked about Aller's performance already. He did have 2 interceptions, but I think one, even maybe both of them, weren't really his fault, sort of the play call. I think the problem for them was defense. I mean, 45 points let up. That's not easy for the offense, even with how good your quarterback plays, your other players. It's not easy to get back in the game from there.
Yeah.
So I think the problem was definitely defense in this one.
I definitely agree. But Oregon locks up the number 1 seed and the last bye, or the other bye. They will be playing the winner of Tennessee versus Ohio State. And then getting into our last game, Clemson versus SMU. Clemson locked down in a playoff spot, getting to the last Power 5 conference bid. Let's see, how did this game go, Jake?
I mean, SMU came back. They were down 31-14 in the third. So they came back and tied it in the fourth quarter, but unfortunately they lose to a last-second 56-yard field goal. Clemson sneaks their way into the playoff. Now both of these teams, they made the playoff. You know, SMU at 11, Clemson got the automatic bid even with 3 losses at 12. But, I mean, we'll talk about the whole playoffs quickly in a second and our predictions. But do you think these two teams deserve to be in?
I think SMU does deserve to be in. I don't think Clemson should be in. I think either Alabama or South Carolina should be over Clemson.
Yeah, I think they should be over them. Obviously, they get that automatic in with the conference win, but yeah, I don't think they deserve it. I mean, they deserve it. They won the conference championship. I think SMU, they deserve it, but are they one of the 12 best teams in the country? No, I think Alabama's better. I think South Carolina's better.
Yep, I agree.
So they deserve it, but I don't think they're one of the 12 best teams in the country.
Yep. And then right now we have the official college bracket right in front of us. Me and Jake will give you our predictions. So our first game, let's start off with Notre Dame versus Indiana. The winner will play Georgia. I think Notre Dame is going to beat Indiana. Jake, who do you think will win?
Yeah, I think all the Indiana talk's going to end. Notre Dame better win, because what I see from Indiana is just frauds all year, and then their coach talking up a big talk at the end of the year. Like, their strength of schedule was so weak.
Yep.
So I think Notre Dame is going to win this one. I mean, still a very good season for Indiana. Don't get me wrong, but I think Notre Dame's going to win this one. Move on.
Yep. And then going down the bracket, we have SMU versus Penn State. Plays the winner of Boise State, or plays the winner.
Plays Boise State,
Boise plays the winner of Penn State versus SMU. Who do you think?
I mean, without a doubt, I think it is Penn State.
Yep. I honestly think they have the easiest run in.
Easiest run of the top 4, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely think they could run over SMU, and then I think they could run over Boise State.
I wouldn't say run over, because I think Boise State's going to compete with them. I think Genty will keep them in. They have a decent team. They hung with Oregon.
Penn State's D-line is very good, and they're big, so
that is true.
I think they can get some tackles on Ashton Genty.
I think Boise will keep it close in that one.
Yep.
Because we also saw them hang with Oregon. But
and then
let's move over to the other side of the bracket.
Moving to the other side, we have Tennessee versus Ohio State. The winner plays Oregon. I say Ohio State wins it, but this is probably the best game.
I think it's the best first-round game.
Exactly, best first-round game out of all 4 of them. I think it'll be Tennessee's going to give Ohio State the run for the money, but I think Ohio State will come out in the end.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's actually going to win this one. I don't think being in the shoe makes that much of an impact at all, really. I think Ohio State is going to get a first-round exit, and I think Ryan Day is finally going to be out of there after a tough playoff loss.
Yeah, I agree. Ryan Day's definitely going to be out of there.
Yeah.
And then even if they win or lose this year, I think he's still going to be out.
Really?
I mean, if
they make a big run, he'll definitely stay.
If they win the national championship,
obviously
he'll stay, but I don't think he's going to stay much longer.
Yeah.
And then our last first round game, we have Clemson versus Texas. Arizona State plays the winner. I say Texas by a long shot.
I say Texas by, I would say 2 touchdowns at least.
Yep.
And then second round, why not hop into that game? I think Texas is going to beat Arizona State.
I agree too.
Definitely a good season for them, but I think Texas is just more complete on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
Oregon versus who I would say is Tennessee, maybe for you, Ohio State. I think Oregon wins that one.
No matter what, I think Oregon wins. So it doesn't even matter who wins that first round game. I think Oregon beats either Tennessee or Ohio State.
I mean, Ohio State might be able to compete because we saw them have a 1-point game on the road earlier in the season. But I think Oregon, with the way they look right now, is definitely going to win that one.
Yep.
And then, like we said earlier, I think Georgia is going to beat either Notre Dame or Indiana, even with their quarterback out.
I disagree with you.
Really?
I think Notre Dame, if Notre Dame wins, I think they're going to beat Georgia. I think Notre Dame's run game is pretty good. Their defense is very good too. So I think they'll win.
They got a solid defense, but I don't know. I feel like Notre Dame hasn't been able to win like very big games recently.
Yeah.
In recent years, so I think Georgia will take that one.
Yep.
And then, like you said, Penn State, I think they're going to beat Boise. Easy run to the last 4 teams.
And
then Oregon versus Texas.
Yep. I think Oregon wins.
I think Oregon wins as well. I think it'll be a good game, though, if they play each other.
Yep. And then we have, for you, we have Georgia versus Penn State. So if it goes to that, I say Penn State beats Georgia.
All right. I think if their quarterback is out, I think Penn State can beat Georgia. But it really depends on what happens. Yeah. I think it could go either way there.
Yep. But if Notre Dame beats Georgia, I say if they beat Indiana, I say Penn State beats Indiana. So I think Penn State wins anyways.
I think for me, in the end of this, like whatever teams get to the national championship, with the way Oregon looks, I think they're going to be the national championship.
Yeah, and then national championship game, Oregon's going to definitely be in there. I agree. And then, like you said, I think Oregon's going to win it all.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, but that's what I think is going to happen this year.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's going to do it. Don't go anywhere. Andrew's up next talking about soccer.
Hello, I am Andrew Mirzaaghasi, and I will be talking about soccer once again. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to Man City this week, as they finally broke their 6-loss streak with Nottingham Forest 3-0. Now, this is what I expect from Man City, as Silva, De Bruyne, and Doku scored. They're absolutely phenomenal players, and I expected this from Man City to begin with. I would end this on a high note, however, since they were doing so good during that game. However, they messed it up. They tied with Crystal Palace 2-2. Of course, now we're back to mediocrity. So honestly, I have no idea what this team is going to do, and I have the jersey for today because of the Nottingham Forest victory, but now I'm still thinking about if I should wear it next time, if we win, tie, or lose. It all depends on the next week of the Premier League. Now that's out of the way, I want to talk about the actual big stuff that's happening with Man City. In one of the earlier episodes, I've touched upon that Man City is technically being charged with 115 counts of financial fraud for breaking the rules, of course, but it has concluded, so we will hear the results of this trial very soon, in the near future with a new episode. But if they are convicted, they will be regulated out of the Premier League, and they have to try to go back into the Premier League due to their regulation. But it is going to be very big if they are innocent or guilty. We will figure that out in a near future episode. The Premier League has already terminated a referee with a bald guy being terminated already. Now we have another one. David Coote has been terminated from the Premier League due to videos resurfacing of him doing not so good stuff. I can't really say about it because it's that horrible. He insulted the previous manager of Liverpool, Klopp, and it is not looking very good for him. He has been terminated. He has no response whatsoever, and the Premier League has commented that they have immediately terminated him. So that's off to a very bad start with referees. We already have 2 of them, and they're already terminated for doing very bad stuff. First one was just being terrible, and now this one is doing stuff that I can't even state. But let's move on to good news. Good news for Chelsea fans, that is, because they beat Tottenham 4-3. It was a very intense game, which went down to the wire. However, Chelsea still pulled through, even with Son trying to make a goal at the 96th minute. It was not that. I can't really say it was that close. It was pretty entertaining to say overall. However, Cold Palmer, he has made history for being now the record breaker for making 100% penalty shootout. He has made 12 out of 12 penalties so far. Congratulations to Palmer for keeping it cool when it comes to the penalty area without breaking under pressure, because really, it is very impressive that he does not crack under pressure and he just scores the goal immediately. So, on to the Premier League standings. In first, not surprisingly, Liverpool with 35 points. Second, Chelsea with 31 points. Third, Arsenal with 29 points. Fourth, Man City with 27 points. And fifth, Nottingham Forest with 25 points. So now Chelsea really trailing behind Liverpool with 4 points. Very interesting. They have now jumped second. Man City is now in fourth. This is getting pretty interesting now that the turn of the tables have been happening, but we will see if Chelsea can keep this up, because this will be a little bit interesting. Liverpool so far is still holding on to their lead ever since Man City went down the gutter with their 6-loss streak, but we will have to see, because anything can happen still in the Premier League. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to the highlight reel. Today we'll be talking about some MLB free agency signings. So to start, Clay Holmes, 3 years, $38 million to the Mets as a starting pitcher. Luke, what are your thoughts?
Very happy. I mean, him gone and to the Mets, I mean, like, there's no way he becomes better, right? Like, he can't throw strikes. He could barely throw it, like, blockable for the catcher. Usually it's a wild pitch. He'll look good for a month. He'll probably go months without giving up runs, and then he'll go months without throwing strikes. Yeah. I don't think I'm happy that he's gone.
It's very odd to me that he signed as a starter. You know, he's obviously really only a 2-pitch pitcher, at least coming out of the bullpen with the sinker slider. So, like, how is that going to work as a starter? I don't know. But the Mets need to sign a starting pitcher. They also signed Frankie Montas, but losing Severino to Oakland, surprisingly, of all places, good for them on spending money. But
I think it's their biggest contract of all time.
I think it is.
Yeah. To, like, a random pitcher who's getting, like, $20 million a year.
Yeah. All right. So, again, we have another free agency signing. Willy Adames going to the Giants, a 7-year deal.
Yeah. I really wanted Adames to come to the Yankees, but they really weren't going to do anything until they knew what was happening with Soto.
Yeah.
And Adames just wanted to get his money and be done with free agency and just be on a team.
He's so valuable.
Yeah.
A 30 home run, power hitting shortstop with good defense. That's a premium position, and I think that's a great deal for the Giants.
Yeah, I agree. Next, we're going to talk about Tyler O'Neill. He signed from the Red Sox. He goes to the Orioles now on a 3-year, $49 million deal. I think he could be a good player. He obviously has power. He's pretty fast. But the real thing is, like, will he stay healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to watch him last year. I loved watching him. He stayed healthy for about 110 games. That's about all we can get out of him at this point. But the Orioles, this probably means they lose Anthony Santander. But O'Neill, another good power-hitting outfielder, so a good move on their part.
Yeah, I agree. Those were all, like, leading up signings. Now we're going to the really bigger ones. And the one that everyone was looking for, everyone was talking about this offseason, was Juan Soto. He ends up signing with the Mets, 15 years, $765 million. I mean, obviously, as a Yankee fan, you're sad about it. But at the same time, like, is he worth that much money? Is anyone worth that much money?
No.
Ohtani might be. He's the only one I would consider because he hits and pitches. Is that just a hitter who's a bad base runner and a bad outfielder worth that much money just to be one of the best hitters in baseball?
It's a very complicated signing. This is more complicated than the Otani and the deferred money signing. But I remember that night when Soto signed, you were saying, "Oh, your dad was in Texas for the winter meetings," and like he said that
What does
Soto.
that have to do with anything?
I don't know. He said that you were like Soto's gonna sign, and he did. He ultimately did sign that night. But such a complicated signing, $50 million plus for one guy. I don't think you could justify that. But obviously, as a Sox fan, I'm happy because he's not in our division anymore, and he was very good last playoffs. But looking forward for the Yankees, it's how they spend their money elsewhere. And signing
Yeah.
Max Fried.
Signing Max Fried. That was their next move right after. I think they're honestly waiting. I think they had got other guys lined up too who may have signed earlier, as we were talking about. But like they were just waiting for Soto to sign to see what they could do next. So once Soto is gone, obviously it hurts, but it's like you have to move on and just go after the next guy. So they thought Max Fried was that next guy, signing him for 8 years and $218 million. And now we'll see what's next going forward, assuming they need another lefty in that outfield. There's one guy I've been thinking of trading for is Kyle Tucker. Not sure if he's really going to be available from Houston, but he could fill that role like right away of Soto.
He's not a better player than Soto, but he's more complete.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what you guys are going for now. Obviously your number one hole now is first base.
I think Christian Walker will be a Yankee.
Yeah.
I think in the next couple days he will sign with the Yankees.
That seems like a very obvious move on both parts. Walker obviously wants to get out of Arizona. He wasn't bad in Arizona, but I think he could be really good and consistent for the Yankees. Obviously, playing in New York adds a whole, another level of pressure to Walker that he hasn't faced in Arizona. But being a good defender at first base, obviously the Yankees at some point last season had some defensive problems at first base with Rizzo. But
Yeah. I mean, he'll be a 250 hitter, 25, 30 homers, and a Gold Glove defense. That's all you really need. Then you need to sign one more big-time bat, I think, a lefty big-time bat, whether it's going to be a third baseman or an outfielder.
how do you feel about Arenado?
And we're not getting Arenado. The Yankees said already they don't want him. Arenado said he wouldn't want to go to the Yankees.
He's
So,
old.
I don't think he's that good anyway. Like, he's still going to be a great fielder, but he doesn't have much power left, and there's no point in trading for an older guy on a bigger contract. That's not what you need right now.
Older guys on big contracts.
Especially another righty. I think they're going to need a lefty. I think a lefty left fielders make perfect sense. I don't know who that guy is if it's not Tucker.
Bellinger. Could be Bellinger.
Could be Bellinger. You could play Bellinger in center.
Yeah. Definitely won't be somebody like Chris Bryant or somebody, but like that would just be like a bad contract. But
Definitely not.
yeah. Anyways, that's all we have this week for the highlight reel. We'll see you next week.